What started out in 1947 as 8 theatre companies turning up to perform in Edinburgh uninvited has turned into the world's largest arts festival, the Edinburgh Fringe. An enormous showcase of the arts that takes place annually throughout August, which provides a platform for many performers to launch their careers and many writers to premiere their newest scripts. There are performances of all sorts, stories both old and new, that come from all over the globe to make their mark. This year, over 24,000 performers took part in 2,871 shows. The festival sweeps over the city during the month of August, with temporary venues that pop up in unexpected places, and costume performers that blanket the main streets in colour and activity. At the centre of this creative breeding ground is the Royal Mile. Scattered across the pavement are bundles of performers who try fervently to get the attention of potential audience members passing, and offer them yet another flyer to add to their already large collection. The Mile is the centre of flyering. Unless you are a company that is already a great public profile, chances are you'll be flying for at least 4 hours a day to promote your show. It's one of the more tedious aspects of performing at the Fringe, and it's not always the most comfortable experience when the inevitable showers make an appearance, but it works. As there are over 24,000 performers, it's highly likely that they will also be viewing shows, so it's a great way of networking. One of our very own Durham Uni companies, Shell Shock, developed a unique and memorable version of flyering, which involved attaching themselves to nearby pillars using their own urns. Full Fuse Productions, another group from Durham Uni, attempted to gain people's attention using only facial expressions, since their mouths were covered with masking tape. This publicity stunt was largely in keeping with the underlying themes and messages of the production, but it had unpredictably successful results in attracting passers-by. Any amateur company at the Fringe needs a strong presence on the Mile, and Thrust Stage's Macbeth certainly was a standout, as a captivating dramatic ensemble with picturesque tableaus and bold costumes. The witches were chillingly beautiful, dressed in white, but each with a distinguishing wound. Their unearthly presence was highlighted by the male cast members fully geared in military attire, creating an ominous yet intriguing environment that clearly attracted people. Another Durham student theatre group not only flyed in costume, but designed and carried a face in the whole attraction all the way from Durham, and definitely deserves special recognition for this. Dotted amongst the hordes of flying groups, a street performer who dazzle passing tourists with acrobatics, dancing, music, comedy, and even fire breathing. The main challenge for performers is to be heard or seen over the hundreds of other talented groups advertising their shows just meters away. The only other obstacle facing these performers is finding some free space. Even the pillars lining the Mile are covered from inch to inch in posters. Every day, new posters are mounted, only to be covered minutes later by a new set. By day 5 of the festival, the pillars and phone booths are blanketed in a cushiony papier-mâché lining from the hundreds of posters that have been attached and soaked by the frequent rain showers. Finding your own personal space in the Mile is surprisingly difficult, but there's always an amazing sensation of camaraderie. Everyone talks to everyone. Kat QV described the experience like you're all in the great performance of the Fringe together. Although putting on a show is a great experience, it's also a very costly one that requires determination, preparation, and funding. Performers have to pay for registration fees, venue hire, accommodation, and travel expenses. Although various budget options are obviously available, few shows break even. Performers do not go to the Fringe to make money. Performers go to launch a piece of innovative writing or advance their careers through networking and public awareness. For an independent comedian, it costs about 10 grand to do a stand-up show. Competition is insanely fierce, but the chance that your performance could be your big break is for most performers too tempting to pass up. Edinburgh is not for the faint-hearted. It's tough, and audience numbers can be disheartening. Maybe not the sellout you were hoping for, but the practical experience and immense exposure to the arts you will gain is worth every penny. This year, Durham University brought a total of 9 shows to the Fringe, 3 of which were student-written plays. 100 Day was originally written by Iggy Bew for the Durham Drama Festival, but was so well received that the cast decided to take it up to Edinburgh with Another Soup Productions, where it again received a fantastic audience response. Consistently earning 4-star reviews from various critics at the festival, the play was reviewed as a sharp, heartfelt drama, with a perfect blend of nostalgia and hope. Not only did the show receive fantastic reviews, but it was highly commended for its writing by the National Student Drama Festival panel.
So I went down to the audition, saw the script, and was like, I can't believe this has been written by a student. This is seriously good. From kind of being recommended to it at the very start, and then as soon as I hit the audition room, I thought, I really want to be part of this.
100 Day is a touching comedy, dealing with the difficulty young adults face in letting go of the past as they grow up. The story follows the journey of Jen, a 20-year-old who has lived independently for a long time, but after being diagnosed with an incurable illness moves home to be cared for by her dad. Jen has to quite literally face up to her past in the form of Daphne, her childhood imaginary friend who unexpectedly returns.
I just think it's a great piece. It really speaks to the audience, and that's something that obviously theatre is trying to do. You're trying to convey a message to a waiting audience, and hopefully they each take something individual from it.
Critics described Writer Bew as a woman of many talents, as she gives a striking performance as the naughty Daphne. Her double act with Steffi Walker carries the audience from laughter to tears all in the space of an hour. They create a friendship so heartwarming that you never want it to reach its looming end. Island State by Don Riley also resurfaced for the Fringe with Quirk Productions after receiving positive feedback from the Durham Drama Festival, winning Best New Writing and Best Actress. It was the longest-running Durham University performance and stayed for the entire festival, performing a total of 26 shows. Comic, dark, and quirky in turns, Island State is the story of 2 women's struggle to keep going in the face of environmental catastrophe. Set in a not-too-distant future, Great Britain is mainly underwater, and the audience are plunked on a tiny island with Josie and Marilyn, 2 young women who appear to be the only living souls in Britain. As the sea level rises and their food disappears tin by tin, tensions rise, and it soon becomes apparent that one might fare better than 2. According to the Scotsman, Island State's biting script thrived on the strength of its poles apart characters, played brilliantly by Jess Krukop and Craig Cheadle. The only flaw that critics highlighted was the short length of the play, which didn't allow for the themes to fully develop. However, students who have been to the Fringe will tell you that it is exceedingly difficult to hold an audience's attention for more than an hour, and most productions are condensed slightly in order to fit the conventions of the festival. Quirk Productions are definitely a talented group to watch over the coming years as they move on to produce new comic writing in London. Another promising Durham theatre company, Thrust Stage, led by artistic director Matt Dan with the help of Matilda Hunter and Lewis Mead, decided to stage an intimate production of Shakespeare's darkest, bloodiest tragedy, Macbeth. The brave decision to condense the play into 50 minutes and strip Shakespeare's masterpiece down to its bare bones paid off, and the company received rave reviews on their haunting interpretation. Critics highlighted that Macbeth is so often presented, and not often with success, but this was a production worth seeing. Their originality and strong ensemble cast are what stood out as highlights, along with the gripping performances of the leading duo, Tom McNulty and Georgie Franklin. If you missed Edinburgh but want to catch Thrust Stage in action, then keep your eyes peeled for more updates on their shows for this term, The Glass Menagerie and Jerusalem. The festival is all about risk, whether you are an audience member choosing which show out of hundreds to spend your 10 quid on, or a comedian testing out your new set on a different audience every night. And no one understands this better than Full Fuse Productions, who took not 1, but 2 productions to the Fringe. Like many of the companies from Durham, Full Fuse was a relatively new company, with a small cast, but they were ambitious, and brought a new contemporary piece of writing titled Speak No Evil, and Jim Cartwright's classic, 2. Over the course of 1 hour, the actors in Cartwright's tragicomedy embody 14 colourful pub regulars, capturing their unfulfilled dreams and their fracturing relationship. The play mainly focuses on the aged relationship of the landlord and landlady, but also features snapshots of various local couples who habitually visit the pub. After speaking to the two actors in Edinburgh, Clara Duncan and Mike Clark, both said that the biggest challenge within the piece was mastering the various accents and ensuring that they had fully developed 7 different characters, each with their own distinct physicality and background. Despite the worries, audience members left convinced they were of a northern background. A reviewer from The Scotsman highlighted their versatility on stage and strong performances as the leading couple, but noted that the venue had created some disturbances by placing them in an unsoundproofed corridor. Due to the temporary nature of the Fringe, complications with the venue are likely, especially when you're performing in a converted merchant's hall or a hotel conference room. But it's all part of the experience, and it's likely you'll come across various other casts that are dealing with similar problems, if not worse. It's a learning experience, one might say. As a director, you will learn the art of patience. And as an actor, you will learn to shrink in order to perform in small spaces. Full Fuse Productions' innovative set designs meant that they could use the same space and 3 simple staging blocks for both productions. The blocks were of great significance in their second production, Speak No Evil. As a controversial piece of devised physical theatre, exploring the notion of free speech, the blocks were multifunctional, acting as chairs, chalkboards, tables, and even symbolic character obstacles. Although largely written by the talented Durham student director Chris Boyce Blake and based on true stories, this collaboratively devised production also incorporated multimedia and an original score to unpick what free speech means to individuals in our contemporary world. A 5-star review from 3 Weeks summed up the piece as simply staged, beautifully written, and outstandingly delivered. A captivating original piece of theatre that ought to be heard. Full Fuse Productions have proved themselves as a company to watch, and we can't wait to see what director Chris Beebe comes up with next. Rumour has it he'll be co-directing Orphans by Dennis Kelly during the Michaelmas term with Castle Theatre Company. Many new production companies from Durham established themselves at the Fringe, but others such as Dulog, Shell Shock and the Durham Review are old handers at the festival and already of high repute. Dulog is a well-established company that has delighted audiences for years at the Fringe, with particular highlights being 2011's Hot Mikado and 2009's Merrily We Roll Along, both of which received 5 stars from Broadway Baby. This year was no exception, and the group pulled off a stunning rendition of Gilbert and Sullivan's classic, The Pirates of Penzance. The standard is exceptionally high for musicals and light opera, with performers like showstoppers on the scene, but Dulog's small talented cast received consistently high reviews and proved themselves yet again to be a formidable troupe, with outstanding vocals and a contagious enthusiasm that will surely get you smiling. If you think you fit the bill but missed out on the opportunity to perform with this gifted group, then get involved and make your way down to the auditions for their first Michaelmas production, Hot Mikado. Shell Shock, Durham Uni's renowned improvised comedy group, who have been performing in Edinburgh for 5 years and well accustomed to the routine of the Fringe. Reviewed as one of the top 5 improv acts in 2010 by The List, the company has received a great deal of praise for their innovative sketches. This year, their show Quest for Comedy followed a daring journey through the jungle of humour, around the swamps of spontaneity, ending in a motorcycle chase through the canyons of wit and a race to the tomb of the long-dead king of improvised comedy. After 2 weeks of performing at the Vault, a 6-year-old reviewer summed up the show as the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Many of the comedians from this sharp-witted team have gone on to work in the industry in London after graduating, but the group is open to all students within the university. The only requirement is that you come along to a few Saturday afternoon workshops just to try out some improv and get a feel for the craft. The performing arts thrive at Durham University, and the standard of performance is exceptionally high. With over 600 members in the DST and several highly regarded comedy societies, we have one of the largest student theatre organisations in the country. We are also only a short train ride away from one of the largest art festivals in the world. While some comedians will say it is the most expensive learning experience of your life, it is one of the few platforms for new theatre that will guarantee some media coverage and to expose your work to a global audience. No Durham performer will tell you that the Edinburgh Fringe is easy, but they will say it's one of the highlights of their university life. So what are you waiting for? Get involved and take advantage of the chance to participate in the biggest open access performing arts festival in the world.